The crowd went silent. Donald Trump, the 47th U.S. president, had just made a sharp, mocking joke about Michelle Obama. The words hit like ice. Whispers rippled through the audience. People shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Barack Obama, the 44th president, stood frozen for a moment. His eyes, calm but burning with something deeper, met Trump's. There was a tension so thick you could almost touch it. Some laughed nervously, unsure what would happen next. Then Obama's voice cut through the silence. Low, steady, but charged with emotion. "That's enough," he said. The simple words carried weight, heavier than anyone expected. Trump smirked, thinking he had control. The cameras zoomed in on Obama's face, a mixture of shock, anger, and an almost painful restraint. He stepped forward slowly, and the smell of sweat and the faint tang of polished wood filled the room. Everyone held their breath. Something was about to break. The energy in the room shifted. It was no longer just a stage performance. It was a confrontation, personal, raw, and impossible to ignore. Obama's next words promised to change everything, but no one could guess how. Obama took a deep breath. The room seemed to shrink around him, the bright lights glaring, the audience frozen in anticipation. Trump chuckled, tapping the podium, trying to provoke him further. "Is that the best you've got?" Trump taunted. His grin was sharp, almost cruel, but Obama didn't flinch, not a twitch, not a flicker of anger. He looked out over the crowd and then down at Michelle, who sat poised but visibly shaken. A single bead of sweat slid down Trump's temple. Obama's calm presence made it stand out like a spotlight. The tension felt almost physical, like holding a breath for too long. Then, unexpectedly, Obama smiled, a small, sad smile. His voice soft, almost vulnerable. "I've faced worse," he said. And for a moment Trump's smirk faltered. He wasn't used to this, not to seeing strength mixed with real humanity. A reporter in the front row caught a glance of Obama's hand subtly gripping the podium, knuckles white. The room smelled faintly of perfume and polished shoes. Every eye was glued to him. Obama's next move would stun everyone, and nobody, not even Trump, saw it coming. The silence hit harder than any insult. Obama raised his voice just slightly, enough for everyone to hear. "Michelle is an incredible woman, stronger than anyone in this room," he said, eyes glistening with emotion. A gasp ran through the audience. Even Trump blinked, surprised. The power of simple truth struck like a lightning bolt. People felt it deep in their chests. Some gripped their chairs. Others whispered prayers. Then, unexpectedly, Obama paused. The camera caught a tremor in his hand. Not from fear, but from the weight of speaking from the heart in front of the world. It was human, real, vulnerable, powerful. Trump laughed nervously, trying to regain control, but the sound was hollow. The crowd's energy shifted. Obama leaned closer, the spotlight catching the faint sweat on his brow. Every word he spoke carried weight, like thunder rolling in slow motion. "Words can wound," Obama continued softly, voice breaking just slightly. "But kindness, respect, that's real strength." The audience erupted, but a question hung in the air, louder than applause. How would Trump respond? The tension was unbearable, thick like fog. And the next moment would leave everyone gasping and change everything. Trump's face tightened. His usual bravado faltered under Obama's calm intensity. For a moment, the room felt frozen in time, a heartbeat stretching into eternity. Michelle's eyes glistened with quiet pride. She reached for Obama's hand, a subtle gesture that anchored him. The faint rustle of fabric and a soft inhale from the audience made the silence feel almost deafening. Trump jabbed at the podium again. "Come on, Barack, say something." But his voice sounded smaller now, shaky, unsure. Obama tilted his head, voice gentle but sharp. "I won't stoop to insults," he said. "Strength isn't measured by mockery. It's measured by what we build, not what we tear down. A wave of emotion washed over the crowd. People leaned forward, hanging on every word. Some clutched tissues, others closed their eyes. There was something deeply human about the restraint in Obama's voice. Powerful, almost painful. Trump's smirk faded. A nervous chuckle escaped him, but it was brittle, forced. And then, unexpectedly, he shifted. For the first time in years, Obama's courage had unsettled him. The stage felt smaller, the air thicker, and everyone sensed it. The next words would either ignite chaos or leave them in stunned awe. Obama paused, looking directly at Trump. A quiet calm, but with fire burning beneath. "Do you know what it takes to be truly respected?" he asked, his voice carrying through the room. The audience leaned in. You could almost hear the clock ticking, counting down to an unseen strike. Trump swallowed hard, the faint metallic taste of fear on his tongue. Then Obama's words hit, not as an attack, but a revelation. It's empathy, understanding, and courage, things no insult can ever buy. A shiver ran through the crowd. Some gasped, others leaned back, stunned. Even Trump's advisors exchanged uneasy glances. The smell of polished wood and faint coffee mingled in the room, grounding the surreal tension. Suddenly Trump laughed, but it was hollow, defensive. His bravado was cracking, and the unexpected twist hit the audience. Instead of retreating, Obama stepped closer, letting vulnerability shine. His voice trembled slightly, a raw honesty that made people's hearts ache. Michelle squeezed his hand, whispering something inaudible. And in that instant, Obama's strength was no longer just political. It was human, real, unstoppable. The crowd was left holding its breath, waiting, and the world seemed to lean forward with them. Then came the moment everyone would remember. Obama straightened, the faint scent of his cologne mixing with the anticipation in the air. "Donald," he said, voice firm yet gentle, "we can choose to lift people up or tear them down. Which will you be remembered for?" The room went deadly silent. Trump's eyes darted around, unprepared for confrontation, framed in dignity and grace. The hum of the ventilation system sounded louder than ever. Some audience members clutched their hearts. Michelle's hand was firm on Obama's arm, a silent anchor. A tear slipped down her cheek, unnoticed in the bright stage lights. People in the crowd were crying quietly, the emotional weight almost unbearable. Trump opened his mouth to respond, but no words came. His laughter, his mockery, all seemed to evaporate. Obama's calm, unwavering presence had stripped the stage of arrogance, leaving only truth. And just when everyone thought it might end there, Obama leaned closer, eyes blazing with quiet intensity, and whispered something that made even the seasoned journalists gasp. The question hung in the air. Could one sentence truly shatter a showman's facade? Obama leaned slightly toward Trump, his voice low but audible to the front row. "The world watches, Donald, and your choices echo far beyond this room." The words landed like a stone in still water. The audience felt it in their bones, the weight, the meaning, the truth behind the calm tone. A faint rustle ran through the crowd, like a ripple in an ocean of tension. Trump's jaw clenched. For the first time, he looked uncertain, caught off guard by the gravity in Obama's eyes. There was no anger in that gaze, only a piercing clarity that demanded honesty. Michelle's hand rested lightly on Obama's shoulder, a subtle signal of support. The soft scrape of her shoes against the polished floor sounded almost impossibly loud in the tense silence. People in the audience inhaled sharply, unable to look away. Then, unexpectedly, a small, almost imperceptible smile appeared on Obama's face, not mocking, but compassionate. The twist struck. Strength wasn't loud or aggressive. It was quiet, steadfast, unshakable. Trump shifted, a nervous laugh escaping him. But the energy had changed. He no longer dominated the room. Obama did. And the crowd realized that something historic was unfolding, inch by inch, word by word. Suddenly, Obama's voice softened. "I've known criticism, mockery, even betrayal," he said, eyes glistening. "But those moments taught me more about courage than any victory ever could." The audience held their breath. It was a rare glimpse of vulnerability, and it hit like a thunderclap. People leaned forward, caught off guard by the emotional honesty. The faint smell of polished wood mixed with the subtle floral notes from Michelle's perfume, grounding the surreal intensity of the moment. Trump's confidence wavered. His usual smirk was gone, replaced by an uneasy frown. He had expected a verbal fight, but instead, he was facing unwavering dignity and heartfelt emotion. A camera captured a subtle tremor in Obama's hand as he gestured, emphasizing the weight of his words. The silence was so deep that even the sound of a dropped pen in the back row would have been deafening. Then Obama leaned in, whispering a line that froze everyone in place. "Power without empathy is nothing." The room shivered collectively. No one could deny it. Trump's bravado had been pierced, and the next revelation would leave the entire nation talking. The air was electric. Obama straightened, his voice strong again. "We are remembered not for tearing others down, but for lifting them higher, even when it's hard," he said. Gasps ran through the crowd. People's eyes glistened. Some whispered prayers. The room felt alive with raw, shared emotion. The faint hum of the lights above seemed almost like a heartbeat syncing with the audience's collective pulse. Trump opened his mouth to interrupt, but no sound came out. His usual arrogance faltered under the weight of the moment. The energy on stage had shifted completely. Michelle's presence was magnetic, her quiet strength amplifying Obama's words. A single tear slid down her cheek, unnoticed by most, but felt by everyone. And then came the twist. A sudden, unexpected ripple of applause erupted from the far side of the room, throwing the entire atmosphere into chaos. Some cheered, some gasped, some cried. The unpredictability hit hard. Even the aggressor could be humbled without raising a hand. Obama's eyes scanned the crowd, taking it all in. And everyone realized the next moment could either shatter the tension completely or create a memory no one would ever forget. The applause faded, leaving a heavy, almost suffocating silence. Obama's gaze swept across the room, calm yet burning with quiet intensity. Every eye was fixed on him, every breath held. Trump's usual swagger was gone. His jaw tightened, fingers tapping nervously on the podium. The faint smell of his cologne mixed with the polished wood, a small, oddly humanizing detail in the surreal moment. Michelle's grip on Obama's arm was subtle but grounding. The slight warmth of her hand reminded him of everything at stake. Not just reputation, but integrity, respect, and history. Obama leaned forward, voice steady but filled with emotion. "Words can wound, but courage, honesty, and compassion define a man, not insults." The audience gasped again. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Others wiped tears, unable to believe the power of such simple words. Even seasoned journalists looked stunned, their pens hovering mid-air. Then, unexpectedly, Trump shifted, almost imperceptibly. A flicker of doubt crossed his face, the first hint of vulnerability the crowd had ever seen. The twist was subtle but explosive. The aggressor could feel fear. And in that silence, everyone sensed it. The next words from Obama could change the course of the evening forever. Obama's eyes softened, a flicker of sorrow passing through them. "We are all human," he said, voice barely above a whisper, yet clear to everyone. "Even those who mock and taunt carry fear inside." The crowd leaned forward, spellbound. The soft rustle of clothing and the faint click of cameras created a strange rhythm, almost like a heartbeat syncing with the moment. Trump blinked, unprepared. No retort, no smirk, only confusion and the faintest trace of introspection. For the first time, he was confronted not with an opponent, but with truth. Michelle's subtle nod gave Obama courage. He stepped closer, tone gentle but piercing. It's never too late to choose respect, to choose decency. Gasps and whispers filled the room. People's emotions swirled. Shock, awe, hope, and fear all tangled together. The unexpected emotional shift, showing compassion toward a provocateur, stunned everyone. And then came a silence so heavy, it felt almost physical. Obama's next words promised to leave a mark that no one would ever forget. Obama leaned forward, eyes locked on Trump. History will remember your choices, not your insults. The words seemed to hang in the air like smoke, thick and undeniable. The audience's collective breath caught. You could feel the tension vibrating through the room. Some clutched tissues, others pressed hands to their chests. The air smelled faintly of perfume and polished wood, grounding the surreal intensity. Trump's face paled slightly. His usual performance of confidence was gone, replaced by the unfamiliar weight of reflection. Even the faint sound of his own breathing seemed loud in the charged silence. Then came the twist. A soft, almost imperceptible smile from Obama, one that carried empathy, strength, and challenge all at once. It was the smile of someone who had endured mockery, but remained unbroken. The audience erupted in a mixture of gasps, whispers, and quiet tears. People felt something rare and human, the power of dignity over cruelty. And just when everyone thought the moment was over, Obama leaned closer, his next line so shocking that the room collectively held its breath, waiting for history to unfold. Obama's gaze never wavered. "True strength," he said softly, voice carrying across the room, "is protecting those you care about, even when others try to bring you down." A hush fell over the audience. You could hear the faint scrape of shoes against the polished floor, the soft whisper of papers rustling, every tiny sound amplified in the tension. Trump's smirk had vanished. His hands gripped the edges of the podium, knuckles white. For the first time, he seemed unsure, almost fragile in the presence of unwavering dignity. Michelle's eyes sparkled with quiet pride, tears threatening to spill. She squeezed Obama's hand, grounding him, reminding him of the stakes. The subtle warmth of her touch carried a world of unspoken support. Then came the twist. Obama's voice softened, almost vulnerable. "Even in the face of mockery, we can choose courage over cruelty." The words hit the crowd like a thunderclap, raw and human. People gasped, whispered, and some wept quietly. The room felt alive with emotion. Even Trump's aides shifted uncomfortably, sensing that the evening had changed irreversibly. The stage was no longer a battlefield. It had become a lesson, a confrontation of values, and everyone waited for the next move, unsure what would come. Obama paused, letting his words sink in. The lights above glared brightly, but he seemed untouched by them. He looked out over the crowd, scanning faces, seeing disbelief, awe, and hope all mixed together. Trump's usual performance faltered. A nervous twitch in his hand betrayed his unease. He had faced opponents before, but never like this. Calm, dignified, unyielding. Michelle leaned in closer, whispering encouragement. The faint scent of her perfume floated, grounding the surreal intensity. Her hand pressed lightly against his arm, a gentle reminder that he was not alone. Then came the twist no one expected. Obama's voice broke just slightly, the faintest tremor revealing the humanity behind the strength. "It's not easy to remain kind when the world pushes you to anger," he admitted. Gasps echoed across the room. Tears pooled in eyes, hearts clenched. The unexpected vulnerability, so rare and genuine, struck harder than any insult could. Even Trump seemed unsettled, caught off guard by honesty and courage combined. The audience held their breath, sensing that history was being made not in confrontation, but in quiet, human strength. Obama straightened, voice regaining its steady power. "Respect," he said, "is earned not through words that wound, but through actions that uplift." The room felt electric. Every eye tracked him, every ear hung on every syllable. People whispered, some gasping softly, some nodding with tears streaming down their faces. Trump's posture shifted. He opened his mouth to retort, but the weight of Obama's words froze him. He felt the unexpected sting of truth, that no smirk or insult could match courage and empathy. Michelle's hand lingered on Obama's arm, subtle but grounding. The crowd smelled faint perfume, the polished wood, the tension, sensations that made the moment almost tangible. Then came the twist. Obama stepped closer, voice soft but carrying a challenge. "You can choose to be remembered for anger, or for something far greater." A collective gasp ran through the audience. The question hung in the air. Would Trump rise to the challenge, or would the moment pass, leaving only silent awe in its wake? The tension was unbearable, every second stretching like hours, and the next words would push the evening to a breaking point no one expected. The room held its breath. Obama's eyes bore into Trump, calm but unyielding. Every spectator felt the weight of the moment, history, dignity, and humanity converging in one electric pause. Trump's hands gripped the podium, knuckles white. His usual smirk had vanished. For the first time he seemed small, human, vulnerable under the quiet strength of truth. Michelle's hand stayed firmly on Obama's arm. The faint scent of her perfume was comforting, grounding, a reminder of love, loyalty, and unshakable support. The audience watched, hearts hammering, as tension thickened. Then Obama spoke, his voice soft but filled with fire. "The world is watching, Donald. What you choose now defines not just you, but everyone who follows your lead." A gasp ran through the room. Some tears were quietly wiped away. Others sat frozen, unable to process the sheer intensity of moral courage displayed before them. Trump opened his mouth, then closed it. No words came. The silence was deafening. The moment stretched infinitely, a powerful truth hanging heavier than any insult. And then the twist hit. Obama's eyes softened, showing mercy, compassion, and humanity. The crowd was on the edge, sensing the final revelation approaching. Suddenly, Obama's voice changed, gentler, almost intimate. "Even those who falter can rise again." The crowd leaned in. The words carried both challenge and hope, shaking the room with emotional force. The faint hum of lights and the subtle rustle of papers made the moment feel startlingly real. Trump swallowed hard. His bravado was gone. He looked uncertain, conflicted, human. The unexpected twist stunned everyone. The aggressor now faced the possibility of redemption without losing face. Michelle's eyes glistened with tears, a mix of pride and relief. She squeezed Obama's hand, her touch whispering that courage and empathy could transform even the darkest moments. Obama continued, voice unwavering. "It is never too late to choose the better path, to lift, to respect, to inspire." The audience was silent, tears flowing freely. The moral weight of the moment was palpable. People gasped, whispered, and some cried quietly, feeling the emotional depth of what had just unfolded. And then, as if on cue, the unexpected climax struck. The room collectively realized this was not just a political battle. It was a lesson in humanity. Obama stepped back, calm, resolute. He glanced at Michelle, a faint smile of reassurance passing between them. The lights reflected off their faces, capturing a moment that would be remembered forever. Trump's face remained unreadable, but the tension had lifted slightly. The crowd exhaled as if collectively waking from a trance. The moral weight of Obama's words lingered, filling the room with a quiet reverence. Tears streaked many faces. Journalists, aides, audience members, everyone felt it. The power of restraint, compassion, and courage in the face of mockery. The air smelled faintly of polished wood, perfume, and the lingering intensity of truth spoken with strength. Then Obama looked out over the room, voice steady, yet tender. Let this moment remind us that dignity always speaks louder than insult. A hushed silence, followed by a wave of applause and tears. The story ended, but its echo would remain. If you felt the emotion and power of this story, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Share your thoughts. Let the world know that courage and humanity can always triumph, even in the darkest moments.